There we go. There we go. Oh, yeah, it was misbehaving. Sorry about that. It's just 233 days until Christmas 2022, and we're thrilled to death to be here this Friday. Of course, we have Meg with us again today. How are you doing today, my friend?
Good evening.
Yes, yes, indeed. Your Friday is coming to a close. Any big plans for the weekend?
Just going to be working on videos.
Ah, excellent. As we get nearer and nearer to this Kenobi release, of course, it's dominating the news, which is great.
So
It's
much
great.
domination.
So much. And it's springtime. And in springtime, the weather's getting warmer. The sun is out. The trees are greening up. The grass is green. The flowers are blooming. But you know what our favorite part of springtime is, don't you?
Uh-oh. I don't know.
Oh, it's the purple trees. The purple trees. That's the
Is
best
that when
part about
Santa
spring.
gets his purple tree out for Mrs. Claus?
That's the best part of spring. Purple trees. I love them. There's. I had to bring that up because this morning on Discord, as we were preparing for the show and we were getting the thumbnail ready and all that, Meg's response to the first draft of the thumbnail was, "I love the purple trees," and the question was like, "What?" You want to tell us what your autocorrect was assigning?
It was my autocorrect for Purge Troopers, purple trees. The same thing happened the other day with Sheev the Wise. I responded to him and I assumed everything was fine, and then I go back on messages later and I realized it sounded like I had a stroke. Nothing made sense. But he was too polite to say anything, so...
Oh, it was so much fun. Your autocorrect is fantastic, and we can count on it doing something completely random from time to time. We've had Chipotle City. We instead of,
Omelette instead of Omega.
it's like I don't know. Your phone has its own personality, and we love it.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun.
It's the best. It is absolutely the best. Hey, we've got a lot of friends in the chat. You guys, thanks for stopping in today. It's always great to get to spend some time with you all. I was sharing with Meg and with Mark earlier today that it's a gray and rainy and blah day here in Central Ohio. And I woke up much in the same sort of a mental state, just sort of in a gray and blah and like ugh kind of mood. But spending time with you has already brightened my day. The purple trees, fantastic way to break that. That was great. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. I needed it. So with all of that being out of the way, we do have a bit of catching up to do with the news of the week. And I was looking just to kind of remind myself of some of the earlier news, and it came from the convention where Ian McDiarmid mentioned about Palpatine's presence being felt.
Yes.
And so people have taken that in all kinds of different ways. There's some people speculating that means he may show up in Kenobi. But our friend Jason, who's in the chat, I saw him up in the chat just a bit ago, has assured us that it is nigh impossible for Palpatine to show up in Kenobi. That being said, what do you think the most likely opportunities would be?
I would have said probably Kenobi, but maybe Andor, maybe both.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. It's this upcoming series. I think Andor and likely the Bad Batch. Ian McDiarmid very well could have voiced some Bad Batch content, and in an upcoming show, that's Bad Batch would be one of those. So Andor, I think, is the most likely, but would throw in Bad Batch for anybody that has that off their radar. That should be there as well. Beyond that, there was also on Star Wars Day, May the 4th. And by the way, happy Revenge of the 6th to you today.
Happy Revenge of the 6th.
But on the fourth Fortnite, put some Star Wars items back in. All right, we've got lightsabers and blasters and such. For folks that play Fortnite, I've heard good things of it, and we expect there might be an entire Star Wars season coming. As I heard Jason talking about it. Do you play Fortnite at all?
Not at all. It looks cringe.
Looks cringe.
Most video games to me are a bit cringe.
Well, I know that I know that Jason plays it, and I see that X-Wing plays it. So and as Santa, I have tons and tons of kids who visit me who say they want Fortnite stuff. So I know it's a very, very popular game, and a lot of people talk. So, hey, have a good talk. He's got to get out because he doesn't want Kenobi leaks. So, very good, very good, our friend. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Star Wars Obsession. Great to see you here. Yeah.
The obsessed Star Wars fan.
There you go. Jason says join him and Bespin playing Fortnite, and you can have fun with them and mock them, and you can get on there and play together. That's not going to happen. I can hear it. I've learned to read you just a little bit from time to time.
Yeah. It's a shame you never seen my face, though. But
I know. Now it's become a thing.
I tease Santa quite a lot about that.
It's fun. Oh yeah, because I was going to have vacation, head over to Europe, and plan to meet up with you and with our other friends who are in Europe. And you had said, well, since I don't know what your face looks like exactly, that you could, kind of show up and then look from afar and decide if it's, if you need to bail.
Yeah, exactly. It depends how heavy Santa's sack is, and as I said that, it sounded way better in my head. I shouldn't have. Anyway. When it starts coming out and you can't stop it from coming out, but it comes out anyway, and you just got to wait for the person's reaction.
I know. I've said it before too, and I can hear it coming out of my mouth before it does, and I say I shouldn't say it, but I have to finish it anyway. And when I say it, I'm like, I already knew that wasn't going to go the way I wanted it to. But I just couldn't stop myself.
By the way, did you enjoy some nice Mexican food yesterday?
I did. Well, so we went into town to meet our daughter, and there's a great Mexican restaurant in the small town we live near. And it's busy any day of the week, but on Cinco de Mayo, forget about it. So we tried there, couldn't get in. So we went to Chipotle instead. So
Chipotle City, Tapoca City.
Tapoca City. Meg, look at you misbehaving in chat while we're talking. Look.
I think this Star Wars Meg person has a point. I think you should answer the question.
Oh my goodness, the baseball team. We've never had the baseball question before. We've talked about basketball a lot here. But getting kicked off your baseball team's an entirely different situation than getting kicked off your basketball team. Oh, and Dominic has a new quote that he's been using now for a couple of days, and I love this because the context of this fits perfectly with Kenobi, right? Shills cannot help what they are. The compassion they have for this sequel trilogy leaves a trail. The shill code is like an itch; he cannot help it. Right?
You said it too much like a light side user. It's got to have the grittiness of a dark side force user.
I think that is it is so well written, Dominic. That is just really, really well written.
Shills cannot help what they are. Their compassion for the sequel trilogy leaves a trail. The shill code is like an itch. He cannot help it.
Perfect. We need to just clip that now. we have it. That is perfect. Thank you so much. Star Wars politics. Who are you today? Where's the Marshal, Meg? No,
I'm tourist Meg on Jakku. I took one of those buses that Din Djarin took to get to Tatooine.
Yes. It very much looks like a tourist hat. Perfect.
Because you never suspect a dark side user wearing a tourist hat. How do you think Palpatine traveled across world? He was in flip-flops and shorts, the whole 9 yards.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and tourists, one of their favorite destinations has got to be another desert planet. You have so many desert planets, and you've got to have a bucket list of all the desert planets. Much like people want to go visit each of the continents on the world, we have to visit all of the desert planets. Tatooine, of course, is that's the low hanging fruit. Anybody can go to Tatooine, but going to Jakku, now that's a special event.
It is, because it's the same, just with less Jawas. I don't know why Disney decided to create so many desert planets. They've got Jakku, Avala 7, Pasana.
Yeah. It's odd.
And those are just the ones I remember.
Right. Oh my goodness. I've been laughing way too hard. The purple trees started it. And then right before the stream started, I was wiping tears from my eyes over the purple trees, and it's still
But Geonosis is a George Lucas planet, so it doesn't count as Disney.
Right, but Star Wars does have a desert planet problem.
It does. It sounds like a CBR article. Star Wars has a desert problem.
It doesn't it? That's exactly right. And we have an article I want to talk about here in a little bit as we get later in the show. But this is great. So there was Ewan McGregor made an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live without Jimmy Kimmel, and he was.
Yeah, I thought he looked a bit different.
Yeah, so Jimmy Kimmel had a bit of a COVID. What do they call it? It's just somebody who had COVID was in the presence of his daughter, who then had presence with him. So it's one of these, follow the trail. And so he had to take some time off until he clears the COVID protocols, and he had a guest appearance. And
can I brag just a little bit? Jimmy Kimmel's brother follows me on Twitter because his son was the child Tusken. And I guess he saw one of my Book of Boba Fett videos.
Nice. Well, I mean, who wouldn't follow Star Wars Meg? That's what I want to know. I mean, it should be everybody. Like, all the who's, anybody who wants to be anybody should be following Star Wars Meg on Twitter. So I just, that Jimmy Kimmel's brother follows you. That's a good start. But we need to amp up the game just a little bit.
We do. Right? We need Jimmy himself.
That's right. And and where are the big ones? Where Mark Hamill, is he following Star Wars Meg yet?
No.
He should be. What about Ian McDermott? Yeah, right.
I don't even think he's got Twitter. I did actually ask to interview him, but the wording of the response I got kind of sounded like he's going to be in something and he can't reveal anything, so it was a no.
Yeah.
I think I may have told you at the time.
You did. We've talked about it in the past. So, Ewan McGregor was on Kimmel Live, and there was a couple of quotes that are worth discussing. And let me share this.
Can I just address Dominic's question, where he said, "Can we get Meg versus Alex from Star Wars explained in Star Wars trivia?" Alex would easily beat me, and it's not. It's simply based on the fact that Alex reads everything Star Wars. Like, his knowledge of novels, legends, and canon is just unbelievable. I've read a lot of Star Wars. I haven't read as much as him. So he would win a trivia kind of thing.
He is amazing. And the problem I have is anytime I get, like, just talking to somebody and and somebody asks a question, my brain will lock and I can't think of it. But normally I could think of, whatever. But if somebody asks me a question and then I can't answer what my name is, right? It's just weird. It's
What's your name?
you ask too quickly. It's fun. No, it's just it's odd. It's something that
You're not wrong, Chandler. Chandler says Meg only reads the good stuff. It's true. Like, obviously, this is no disrespect, Alex, but like he reads everything. I just read the stuff I think I'm going to enjoy.
Well, what's really great about Alex and Star Wars Explained is getting their canon updates, the monthly canon updates, because not everybody can read everything, nor would you want to necessarily read everything. But he does these canon updates, and you can find out all of the content that came out during the month, and kind of keep up on things without, the weight of trying to read everything yourself. And then you can pick the things that you really do like and don't have to. Baymax give me a hard time. But no, I really do like Alex's content on the canon updates. Not only that, but he does an annual rundown of the entire Star Wars timeline from canon perspective, and that's definitely worth your time to follow.
I think we need more Star Wars YouTubers to be comedians. Like, Star Wars is pretty funny, but unfortunately some people take it too seriously to the point where they forget the funny bits.
I agree. I was just talking with our friend yesterday, Matt, and we were talking about, he just did the Matt Cave, for Good Friends with X-Wing is on the he's on the Boomer Council, and he did a fan edit of the sequels, and I've been watching through them, and he cut out all the funny bits, and I was like, hey, you cut out all the humor, and some of it is quite good, but it's something that, and he agreed. We were having a fun conversation about it, and I go back to thinking, could you imagine, should we have gotten the movies in release order, and just now the original trilogy was coming out instead of the sequels, and you get to Empire Strikes Back, and Yoda being such a silly character, right, and fighting over the candy bar, mine, whacking R2D2. They would say, "Oh, not my Yoda." Right? They're like, "Oh, who made him so silly? Oh, what's wrong with Disney? What's wrong with Lucasfilm?"
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. There's a lot of things in the original trilogy I think fans would absolutely despise if they came out today. But nostalgia and rose-colored glasses kind of removes that. I think we need to be a bit more honest. Like, even though I love the prequels, I do completely understand why some people cannot stand some of it. Yeah, but that's what I love about it. I love how funny and silly those elements are.
I asked this question yesterday, and then I forgot to go back to it. Star Wars does have some fantastic humor. And if you could pick maybe the most humorous scene out of all the movies that it just comes to mind, what's a humorous scene that you get a chuckle out of every time?
I would say, that's a very good question. How about you answer first?
Yeah, because I've had more time to think about it.
Exactly.
Of course, the classic has to be the Stormtrooper bonking his head in A New Hope, but that's unintentional comedy, right?
I know my favorite funny moments when Padme dies. It appears she has lost the will to live. I mean, if everyone did that, everyone would coincidentally die on Monday mornings.
No, right? I know. Or this morning when I woke up just feeling blah, it's gray and it's rainy and it's cold, it just, the sadness would have overtaken me and I had just died. I wouldn't be here to enjoy this time with you now. Uh, I'd say, but another one would be that Yoda moment, right when he's whacking R2 and fighting mine. It wasn't as funny at the time. It was weird, like I didn't understand it. But now, in full context and understanding what he's doing, that's a great scene. The other scene that I know my daughter really likes, Kayla really likes, is when in The Last Jedi, when Luke's having the lesson with Rey on the Seeing Stone, and he says, "Reach out," and she reaches her hand out, and he tickles it with the frond there, right? And she's like, I feel it," and then he whacks her.
And Santa wishes he was Rey.
Yes,
We all want to be
no.
tickled with Rey's fuzzy stick.
So I know that was good. Matt Risman says Yoda bopping Luke on the head in The Last Jedi is pretty good. Yes.
You know what I love about Grogu is Grogu kind of reminds me of what Yoda was meant to be before the prequels. Like Yoda had such a cute charm to him in the original trilogy, and then the prequels made him this serious, kind of complete, terrible Grand Master of the Jedi Order, and one of the reasons they failed. And I love
Right.
Yoda in all of the saga, but with Grogu, you get kind of that innocent side to the Yoda species again, which I kind of missed. And they do a lot of callbacks, if you remember, in Season 2, Chapter 10, when, I think it's called The Passenger, when they stop off on that ice planet and Grogu has a little lunchbox similar to the one that Luke had in The Empire
Oh,
Strikes Back.
well, like we had when we were kids, carrying around the little Star Wars lunchbox. It's
Yes,
good stuff.
exactly.
It's good stuff. It's
I
really
kind
good.
of I missed that puppet Yoda, so I'm glad we have Grogu.
I was glad to get the puppet Yoda back in The Last Jedi. That
Oh
was a
yeah, of
great,
course.
that was a
True.
great one. Do you get back to this article? Well, the interview that Kimmel had. There was a little bit of a quote that you mentioned this morning in your update, and a lot of people have gotten into. I was watching our friends over at Echo Base Network. Coach did a little snippet of it today as well that I thought he did really well. Says this is Ian McGregor here saying, luckily on this series we had Deborah Chow, who's an amazing director, and she knows across all, because now Star Wars has become it's the movies, but it's also the TV shows, it's computer games, cartoons, books, comics, and all the storylines have to match up. You can't have some fact in the video game that doesn't match up to the movie, right? So she was amazing knowing all that stuff and guiding writers as well with that. So that he would mention, Ewan McGregor, somebody who's, probably not following lore as much as you or I or many other Star Wars fans, mentioned that she was concerned about making sure the canon lines up from the video games even. So what could that be a hint towards? And
I think Fallen Order personally. There's so many signs with the Fortress Inquisitorius and the Inquisitors, the aesthetic. Have you noticed how smoky everything is in the trailer?
well, and I know I don't know that much about Jedi Fallen Order because I've not played the game. I've seen some coverage of it. I know who Cal Kestis is, of course, and I'm aware that the timeline adds up perfectly for a Jedi Fallen Order crossover. In the Bad Batch, that we visited the same junk planet that Fallen Order takes place on,
Bracca.
largely, right? So I know that they're paying attention to Jedi Fallen Order. We also saw in the Book of Boba Fett, BD-1, right? Or well,
It was a BD unit. It wasn't
right.
confirmed to be. It could be.
Right. I think it was confirmed not to be, but anyway, it was another BD unit that the only other time we've seen is in Fallen Order, I think, right? So
Yeah.
that Ewan mentions video game, the timeline lines up. It's just people following the dots, right? Putting dots together and saying, it looks like we could get a Jedi Fallen Order cameo or reference or tie-in Kenobi. How far would you go with that?
I would say they're going to probably tie it to the sequel. I think the surviving Inquisitors could appear in the sequel to the game, and maybe even plot points. I'm not sure how Kenobi himself will, because based on the leaks, we know that his story is going to be very much contained within the realm of Vader and, what we know what happens at the end. But there are things we simply don't know in those details that could have been kept under wraps. And as much as Jason has been leaking everything, there could easily be room for surprises, similar to how nobody saw Luke Skywalker coming in Mando. It was not something any person had picked up on beforehand.
Yeah, something I was thinking about this morning as I was watching your video the second or third time. I kept watching it over and over again just to pick up on things because my attention span would get pulled aside, but so I'd rewatch it. And I got to thinking, this whole Jedi Fallen Order 2, there's been a lot of different rumors about it. There's been a lot of speculation about it. And I'll pull up this article as well. You mentioned perhaps an update on it. And this, I just pulled this. It's a Gaming SYM. I don't know what that is. But anyway, they're talked about perhaps it'll be coming in 2023. And you talked about that a little bit as well. Like the date on that's coming up. We have very, very little as far as leaks are concerned with Jedi Fallen Order 2. There's been some discussion that maybe it won't be called Jedi Fallen Order. It'll be given a different name. But it essentially is the continuation of Cal Kestis' story.
Yeah. And I also think we need to bear in mind there could be ties to the Andor series, because the Fallen Order sequel and Andor take place at precisely the same point in the timeline. I think there's like a bigger connective point. I hate to sound like a Marvel multiverse sort of person, but when it comes to what we're seeing in Star Wars, I do think there's going to be overlaps that connect Kenobi, Bad Batch, Fallen Order, and Andor.
It would be great. I don't know that they've done a lot of gaming tie-ins in any other context, and this might be the most prevalent. There's tons and tons of hope for KOTOR content to come into live action or animation on Disney Plus in some form of a series. There were rumors some time back that they were going to make an animated series based off of KOTOR, or that they were going to create a live action series based off of KOTOR. And then we got the announcement of the KOTOR remake, which again you reported on today that we could be getting sooner than expected as well.
Yeah.
So getting Fallen Order tie-in to live action would be a big deal. And you already mentioned
it could start that process for future games.
You already mentioned like the Inquisitorius, right? That being brought into Kenobi. Maybe that's about the extent of it in Kenobi. But I think you very rightfully bring up Andor. Andor is going to be quite extensive. We know it's 12 episodes for season 1.
Yeah.
We're looking at 3 seasons, assuming 12 episodes per season, 40 to 35 to 40 minutes probably per episode. That's a lot of content and a lot of, and based on where it is set in the timeline, the opportunity to bring in, as you mentioned, Jedi Fallen Order, as well as Rebels and prequel and original, like tying all of the pieces together. Andor could really be a huge bridge between the prequel and original trilogy era, and
For sure.
all this content. It could be great.
I think so. I think this early Imperial era is just so fascinating because you have the Empire at its peak, and they know that Vader is a selling point. So, and he was teased at the end of Fallen Order, the first one, when he kills the second sister. So why not use him for more things? And we know Hayden's on board for at least one more series, the Ahsoka show. But why not in Andor? If there's a possibility we get Palpatine,
Right.
why not have another Rogue One Vader moment?
And based on your exclusive leak,
Yes,
right?
Masamida.
Masamita absolutely opens the door for Palpatine to show up, and when we get that quote from Ian saying that we might get, we would feel Palpatine's presence in an upcoming show. It just, you know, it lines up, right?
It does. It absolutely does.
It's very exciting, very exciting. So that's the bulk of it. The trailer, the trailer. What did you think of the trailer this week?
I loved it. Absolutely made my day. I think that was the best May the 4th anything we've gotten in a very long time. As much as I loved the Bad Batch season 1 episode 1
Yeah,
last year, this was incredible. This got me properly hyped for the series.
me too. Me too. And I know I've heard some reviews of the trailer where people liked the first one better than the second one. For me, and mainly that's based off of the score behind it, right? So Duel of the Fates in that first one, and that gets everybody excited. And this one didn't use the Duel of the Fates, but I loved the score that I heard in this one. It was rich. It was moving. It had a sense of foreboding in it. It sounded great. I loved it.
I'm very much in agreement with you. I can see why people think that with the first trailer being more musically, I suppose, cinematic and epic. But just like Jason said, I can't remember which film he said it takes some inspiration from, but it's mixing cinematic orchestral things with synthesizer. So if you listen to the start of the official trailer, the full one we got on May the 4th, it's got the part of Duel of the Fates playing, but in much more like a lo-fi synthwave type style, which I think is more true to what we're going to get in the film, in the series, which I honestly prefer. I'd rather get a feel for what what it's going to feel like, and it builds up. And the ending is so epic. You have Reva screaming, "You cannot escape him." We see parts of Vader being put together, and then Kenobi giving this disgusted look, and then it cuts. I think the editing was perfect.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. All of it is great. I think you said properly excited. I am properly excited for it. It is something that 21 days seems almost too long. Like,
It does.
it's crazy. It's so much time. It was funny. I was watching the Star Wars show, from Star Wars's YouTube. They have every week, and she on there said the same thing. Like, I want it to be the 27th already. From many ways, I feel the same way. Right, Darren, could Meg really be Daisy Ridley? That's why she doesn't show her face. And I bet she has a yellow lightsaber too. I like your thoughts there, Darren. I love it.
I would love to voice Rey in some kind of animated project or game or something. Because I was playing Lego Star Wars and I was playing as Empress Palpatine, Darkside Rey,
Yeah.
and I'm like, we sound very similar. If anyone has Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, play as Darkside Rey. You'll see similarities in our voice.
That's
It's like a darker version of actual Rey.
It's great. It's great. I've enjoyed watching your Star Wars Lego Star Wars Saga play, because your attitude is hilarious. Yeah, and I posted on your Discord yesterday. I think it was yesterday. The subtitled Chopper video where they put cursing in.
Yes, I had a look at that.
That's like, if that's not the perfect embodiment of Meg as a droid, I don't know what is. Like,
Yeah, Chopper is very sassy.
so good. I just thought it was great, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And so if you've not seen that, you look it up on YouTube. It's Chopper with cursing subtitles. It's very funny.
It is. I recommend it.
It's great.
Modern Metalhead Covers and Edits brings up a good question. Did we hear the fifth brother in the trailer saying, "You still want Kenobi"? I thought it was him. I was wondering, is it him or the Grand Inquisitor? But I think it is the fifth brother who says that.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because they don't show who's saying it.
No,
And we haven't heard too much of Rupert Friend as Grand Inquisitor.
and I haven't seen the subtitles assign that to whom it came from. You know, a lot of times you can get that from reading the subtitles, but the last time I checked, the subtitles still weren't with the video. So I'd have to go back and look and see if they've got that on, and if it's attributed to a character, right? I don't know. But that brings up another point about the trailer. So we get another Inquisitor is shown in there, and there was some speculation, who is it? But then it was later confirmed who that other Inquisitor is. So we're familiar with the third sister, Reva, and the fifth brother there, but there was another sister standing there on the other side.
Sister.
Yes, the fourth sister. So yeah,
it completes our entire lineup, I think, from 2 to 10.
I think so. Well, 10. I remember 9. The 10th. I don't remember 10th, but anyway.
I'm pretty sure there is.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, but it's the fourth sister. That was confirmed on StarWars.com. And so there's no question about that. And that's really good. We get an introduction to another. And there were some photos released later in the day from an Emmy nomination kind of site. And Jason Ward covered it on his channel. And you talked about it a bit as well in your video this week. The Grand Inquisitor, you get a much better view of him. What are your thoughts on the look of the Grand Inquisitor? There's been a lot of discussion about it.
So I don't think it's going to distract me because I'll see it in the context of the show. So it's not going to bother me because I'm going to be like, this is the Grand Inquisitor as he's supposed to be in the Kenobi series. And I can mentally separate that from the live action stuff. Just like I see Arnold Taylor's version of Kenobi is different to Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness's. It's the same character, just a different version, different interpretation. Having said that, I do think with their budgets, it's very sloppy. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up too because so in Star Force One, thank you so much for being here, and a good friend of Meg's, and appreciate you giving us that. The 10th brother was the one who tried to kill Mace Windu in the comics.
Nice.
Thank you
That's
for that.
cool.
And also a bit here about the fourth sister was impersonated in the comics. The outfit in the trailer isn't the same. So I'll take your word on that. I'm not caught up with all of that. The first, there's not a first, is there? It's the Grand Inquisitor, and then it goes.
Yeah, I've heard people saying, having theories about the first sister and the first brother. Some people say the Grand Inquisitor was the first brother.
Yeah, I take Grand is first, and then it goes second, third, fourth, fifth, like that. But
what do you make of the outfit when we see the Grand Inquisitor land on Tatooine?
I have no issues with it. I think the outfit looks good. Now, his look is one of the things that I've been talking about on Discord for some time. Talked about a little bit yesterday as well. I agree with you that the Grand Inquisitor's look seems like they didn't put enough effort into it. It's not going to. I'm not at a rage level. I'm not like going to create all kinds of rage videos over the Grand Inquisitor's look, but at the same time, it feels lazy. Feels lazy to me.
Absolutely. I'm wondering sort of how that came about, because no doubt Deborah would have spoken to Dave Filoni, being in the position he's in.
Yeah.
And I think they may just have deliberately wanted a very different look. Just like when we're going to see Hera Syndulla for the first time, she's going to look more like the green live action Twi'leks we've seen, more than, let's say, the fluidity you have with animation. And it's the same with Sabine Wren. So I suppose there's like a natural thing of expecting the Rebels animated style to be different and more exaggerated.
Right.
But then there's the problem of the fact that Grand Inquisitor is a Padawan, and we've seen those
Right. So that's what and Star Wars politics. No, there's not a brother and sister at each place. So there's not like a Grand Inquisitor male, Grand Inquisitor female, second sister, second brother, third sister, third brother. It's the rank and then like second sister, third sister, fourth sister, fifth brother, or whatever. Like it, if they're male, then it's brother, female, sister, and it just in order. There's been some talk over, okay, if you're, say, the fifth brother and the fourth sister dies, do you become then the fourth brother? Do you get a promotion like that? Or do you stay the fifth brother because that's what you were assigned?
Never thought of that.
Yeah.
Because the Grand Inquisitor dies pretty early on.
Yes. Yes. There's one person per number and then whatever gender they are. So yeah, that's the question. Would the fifth brother become the fourth brother? Or would they replace the fourth with a new fourth brother or sister?
Santa, because I know you love this conversation, I'm going to ask you, what
no.
if there's a non-binary Inquisitor?
I know that was coming. Star Wars has not addressed the non-binary Inquisitors. We've not had any non-binary Inquisitors yet, so I don't know what you would call them. The the fourth they, is that it? I don't know.
The fourth they.
The fourth them.
The third joyster, because I know that like if you have a partner who's non-binary, they call it a joy friend.
Oh, okay.
So it could be like the third joyster.
Sure.
But that just sounds a bit. It doesn't sound right in the context of an Inquisitor. Yeah, I think Ronnie has it. The 11th sibling.
Yeah. There you go. Oh my goodness. I don't know. But I am curious about the promotion thing. Like if somebody ahead of you gets killed, do you jump up a rank? I don't know.
I think Jason is right. The Empire wouldn't care about people's pronouns. They're kind of mean.
That's a good point. All right. We don't care about your pronouns. We're just going to call you what we decide we're going to call you. You're going to deal with it.
That sounds exactly like I was going to say a politician's name. I meant Palpatine.
Oh my goodness. Santa joking about they no.
But going to your question, Santa, I don't think there'd be a promotion because in Rebels, the Grand Inquisitor dies, but none of the other Inquisitors got a promotion that we know of.
Right. And we know other Inquisitors die, and we've not ever seen that they change the number, right? Yeah, Jedi Mike, you're only a number, right? So I don't know. I don't know that they would if there was a fixed number. We have 10 Inquisitors. The end. So I don't know.
I think maybe it's to preserve the fact that they existed, but Vader sees them as so disposable.
Ronnie,
you may as well just call them bitch 1, bitch 2.
True. Oh my goodness. Let's see. What was I thinking right before that? There's another. Oh, the Grand Inquisitors look. For me, and I've discussed this a lot on Discord and somewhat yesterday. In the Charles Soule comics, the Grand Inquisitor looks a lot more like the Grand Inquisitor in the in Kenobi. But you make a very valid point, and I think one that needs kind of reasserted, that you've already established a live action version of that character or that species. And to continue on in live action, I think you have to hold to a different standard than if you were going from live action to animation or vice versa. There's stylistic choices that are made in animation or in comics. Like, for example, you can read all kinds of, say, Superman comics, and he'll have different stylizations based on the artist's artwork, right? So you might end up with a different looking live action than you do in comics or in animation. But they've already established Powans. in live action, and that the Grand Inquisitor doesn't meet the conventions of that species is concerning.
It could be a practicality thing if they're going to have him fight quite a lot. The Powans in Revenge of the Sith walked very slowly, probably because of the cosmetics. So it was probably a convenience thing, but even then, a lot of fans could have probably overlooked the head if they got other aspects right.
Right.
Because even the rest of his outfit, if you look at the Grand Inquisitor in the comics and in Rebels, he's kind of like a fencer, like wearing
Mm-hmm.
very tight, kind of medieval style clothing. That makes it perfect for athletics
Mm-hmm.
because he's got a more like majestic fighting style. And the Grand Inquisitor in the Kenobi trailer kind of wears baggy outfits, which doesn't really correspond to what we know from what he's like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good point. I wanted to also. I saw somebody trying to explain. Like a lot of people are trying to defend it, right? And they're trying to come up with all kinds of different explanations for the difference. And Daniel's touching on here. Is it another Leku length kind of argument, though? There was one that says Powans' lifespans are quite long, hundreds of years, like 800 years old, 900 years, something like that. And the Grand Inquisitor's only supposed to be like 40. Perhaps like the wrinkles, like the grooves, become more prominent as they age, much like mine. But so perhaps those become more prominent as they age. Perhaps their head continues to lengthen as they age, much like people's ears never stop growing, right? Older people have very large ears because they keep growing for your entire life.
Isn't that a myth?
No, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, the myth was about your fingernails growing after you die. That doesn't happen. You become more dehydrated, and so they look like they do. But yeah,
Oh
your
yeah, you're
ears.
right.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I thought it was one of those science myths.
no, I was visiting with my dad a few days ago. I was like, dang, my ears are going to be that big. Like,
We
so
live as humans, we die as elephants.
no. But will you be an Asian elephant or an African elephant? That's the question. Like,
I have heritage from both continents, so
just because their ears are different
I know, I
size.
know, I know. I was just being playful with the language.
I know you are.
But I was going to say, I've been watching quite a lot of other Star Wars YouTubers recently, and there seems to be this thing with people who maybe are not aware of the, making Star Wars leaks. And I kind of feel like some people are setting themselves up for disappointment, thinking it's going to be like this big prequels stroke fest or nostalgia fest.
Mm-hmm.
And while there will be inevitably elements of it, I think a lot of people are setting themselves up for disappointment when they're speculating on certain aspects of like the prequels and like we're going to see a flashback to this and Order 66 from this person's perspective or whatever it is. And I'm just like, oh, I don't think this person is. I think this person is setting themselves up for disappointment, and it's not their fault. I'm just saying I feel like there will be a large portion of the fan base who will not be pleased with the Kenobi series because they're expecting it to be more expansive than it is. Whereas Jason has told us many times it's going to be very self-contained within 6 episodes. Like, you're not going to see Kit Fisto in a flashback, or you're not going to see Ki-Adi-Mundi dying from a different angle.
Right. That is a very, very good point, Meg, because I did, I guess, appeared on They Fly Now podcast Monday evening, and they were speculating a lot about Kenobi as well, and they had not read the leaks from Jason, and they did not want me to share any spoilers. They were just purely speculating, and the space they were speculating in is not going to happen. Like, and I couldn't just say, well, that ain't happening, right? Like, I had to let it go. And I've heard people, for example, there's a certain person who hosts a live stream a couple times and does takes hard on sequel fans. Uh, Melvin, Melvin. He is quite upset about this TV9 rating that
Mhm.
it seems to have, and you'd be more familiar with it. I think that's a European, or
It is, but usually the European ratings are the same. So it's like for the first time, there's a noticeable decrease. Even if it's just in the UK, it shows there is a standard for younger viewers that has not been for previous Star Wars projects.
and just for example, and you could probably see it easier than me because I don't have UK ratings. What was Book of Boba Fett
12
rated?
plus.
12 plus. Okay, so this is 9.
And we're
It's
all
rated.
watching the same show, so even though it's rated just in the UK as 9 plus, it's going to be the same for everyone,
Well,
even
they
if in America it's TV 14.
right. It's yeah. That's a good point too. They don't get a different
They don't get a
edit.
different version, exactly. So I do understand why some people might think it's going to be less violence, but the leaks suggest it's going to be pretty full on aggressive at times.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that because I wanted to ask because we see in the Book of Boba Fett uh, when Din Djarin goes into that meat locker and chops a dude's head off, throws it in a bag and carries it and plops it on a desk, right? Like that's pretty hardcore violence.
Yeah.
but it wasn't like TVMA. And one of the reasons, and George Lucas addressed this back with the original trilogy, even, is that with the lightsabers, it cauterizes, so you don't get the blood. The blood and gore isn't there, even though you chop an arm off and there's a little blood there in the cantina, right?
Ponda
When
Baba.
Yes. So when that happened, it wasn't rated R because of blood and gore. The lightsaber cauterizes, and so you end up with lots of cases. Even Maul getting chopped in half in the Phantom Menace. Other cases, as I mentioned there in Mandalorian, it doesn't get the TVMA or the R rating because it doesn't have the amount of blood and gore that would raise it to that level. And I'm wondering how much Kenobi, we know in the first episode, for example, in this, I'm not giving away, well, maybe this is a little spoiler for some folks, right? So, warning, it's a little spoilery, but you can see in the first teaser trailer, the dude's boots hanging, right? That the dude has been hung
Yeah.
and he's been executed, and his dead body is hanging. That is not, as I saw in Melvin's video, Barney the dinosaur. That's not Barney the dinosaur content. It's
No, it
it's
is not.
it's
I
a
thought
little
that thumbnail was so funny.
right. He's got a great look. I'm not picking a fight with Melvin. Don't want to do that, but I'm just saying that to equate the TV7 rating to Barney the dinosaurs, it's funny. At the same time, it's not exactly accurate, right?
No, and you know what I'm thinking now? Maybe the UK has changed their standards. I might look into that. I might look into what is it about the TV rating system over here in the UK that made that a 9 plus. And I think they may have been more, I guess, would you say strict or lenient?
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I might look into that.
X-Wing, this is hilarious, right? Be quiet, Ronnie, or I'll take your mom to dinner and soon you'll have an earlier bedtime.
Well, his mum owns a sushi restaurant, so you'll be eating sushi.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's
So
not a
fun.
joke, by the way. I remember him saying
No,
that in the Discord.
no, I'm just saying, X-Wing's comment is great. I love it. Just like, be quiet or you'll have an earlier bedtime. Meaning, anyway, you can get the implications. So much fun, so much fun. I love you, all of you guys. You're fantastic. So yeah, I don't think we need to be overly concerned, and it would be interesting, Meg, to find out from a UK rating guideline, what that is. We know in the first episode there's going to be a dead body hanging. We know that. We've seen the feet, and we know that too that we're going to see his hands chopped off by Reva. there's amputation and a dead body hanging. Not Barney the dinosaur content, right? Not at all.
No, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Jason, someone gets their hands cut off, right? You're not going to get kumbaya people standing in a circle singing, "I love you, you love me.
That'd be
We're a
creepy
happy
if all the Inquisitors
family."
did that before they ignited their lightsabers and touched tips.
Oh, that's, this is why I love this so much. You guys, I know I've gotten some great feedback from all of you saying how much you enjoy Meg and I talking, but I have to let you know that it helps me out tremendously as well. And I thank you, Meg, for making this time for me. It's wonderful. And there's another
It's
article.
always a blast.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I want to bring X-Wing back to work. Okay, well, take care, X-Wing. Thank you so much for stopping in.
Star Wars Fits has just reminded me of one of the scariest things from my childhood. If you don't know who Mr. Blobby is, you should Google it.
No clue.
He's basically a predator disguised as like a child entertainer.
Oh,
I mean, not really, but he looks like one.
oh, okay. Yikes. Yikes. Daryl the derelict. Thank you for that. Daryl, he's been a member of our community for some time. And I saw we had another person join earlier in the stream. Thank you all. The support means the world to me. It truly does. And this is great. Ronnie just searched Blobby. It's I want to bring this article up because this came up just today, a couple hours ago, and it's by Wired. And I was chatting.
Oh yeah,
with
this is making the rounds. I've seen a lot of people discuss this. You're going to see a lot of channels probably covering this.
It's kind of crazy, and I want to bring up Echo Base Network again because this morning I thought Coach did a wonderful short little video, and he was talking about that the fandom is there are people who are more butthurt about things than other people, and there are different folks who have different takes on different things, which is fine. But this article here kind of takes a negative tint to things that kind of got me like a little. I wanted to address it. Let me put it that way, because this author Angela Watercutter, which is a fascinating. That sounds like a Star Wars name if I ever heard one. Not Watercutter, Skywalker and Watercutter. I don't know. But Jason was chatting with us this morning about this as well. She's talking here like Star Wars is just sort of on autopilot, churning out content with no heart, no excitement. It's just run of the mill everyday kind of things. It's just, I don't know. When she talks about going back to when these movies came out, what a great big deal they were. Well, sure, they're 20 years apart, when you got more than 10 years between the last movie and the next one, it's a big event. And now we have Star Wars content on the regular, and we get Star Wars content on a regular, and all of a sudden it's ho hum. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean, here's my issue because I've seen this opinion from Marsha Lucas. She also kind of said the same thing. And Lawrence Kasdan had a similar opinion. And now it's coming from this journalist. And while I do understand their point of view about like the magic of Star Wars and it's not what it used to be, these people are forgetting that times change. The way we consume content has changed. Star Wars has to adapt. It's not going to be exactly the same recipe every time. And because we're getting so much of it, there will be occasions where shows are miss instead of being hits. It doesn't mean the passion for the franchise has gone away. It's just evolved. It's just different.
I agree. I heard John Campia and his crew talking about this as well with the issue that Netflix is in. like Netflix is in a lot of trouble, and that these studios have turned to streaming as a regular source of revenue. But now with the issues Netflix has had, they're worried that this may not be the cash cow that many have attributed to it. But you end up with some of these studios, they're, I think, better positioned than Netflix, for example, because they can do theatrical releases. We just had Marvel do a theatrical release on the back of having a streaming release. So you can hit both outlets. Star Wars is yet to come out with another uh, schedule of movies. Although, I mean, there's a schedule, but I don't think any of us are really, hanging our hat on that, right? That we're going to get the what is that, Rogue Squadron. I don't think we're going to get that in 2023. But be that as it may, they don't have sort of this back-to-back thing with theatrical and streaming service. And to say that a streaming service makes it too common, too ho hum, too, I don't think that that's accurate in any way, shape, or form. This is this paragraph here has to do with the fact that Star Wars is in a bit of a lull. Following the breakout success of The Mandalorian, Lucasfilm scores spin-off series, each receiving about the same level of enthusiasm. Bad Batch was good, although lacked the crossover appeal of Mando. Book of Boba Fett was fine, and now Obi-Wan's coming along, and she's saying it doesn't really have the hype and enthusiasm that these big movies did in the past. In
In a sense, she is right. I can't help but feel that I kind of see where she's coming from. Star Wars is not the same. That I don't think that means, it's the end of the franchise. I think Kenobi is going to be very important as a kind of make or break series, given recent perception of some projects. But overall, I kind of, I don't know how to word this, but it's like, yes, the Book of Boba Fett was considered disappointing, but Lucasfilm is in a place where if Kenobi does well, I think everything will come back. I think that will really reinvigorate the fandom and the franchise as a whole. That's my opinion. I think it all depends on Kenobi because there have been times where it's been like that.
I agree. I know some folks are concerned that Kenobi is a make or break, and if I'm super excited for it. I know you're excited for it. Most of us feel optimistic about it. There are some concerns for sure. I get that, but at the same time, to ignore the success of the Mandalorian, the sales numbers of Grogu merch, the popularity of even like Din Djarin merch, right? All the costumes, all the kids are buying the figures, all the releases. They're clearing shelves, and people are buying the licenses for to put it on everything, which is an indicator of the strength of the brand, not that it's in a lull.
Well, I have a hot take.
Yeah.
I think I've got a more thought out sentence than what I just said. I started worrying the minute we got to chapter 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. That for me was the first time I was like, shit, Lucasfilm could be completely screwed. And the reason I say that is they had this golden goose, which was The Mandalorian. And what a show that was from seasons 1 to 2. I've always said that's where they should have ended it, but obviously it's profitable for them. They're going to keep going. But now I'm looking at it as we finally saw the flaws in Jon Favreau's writing. We finally saw that, okay, he does have the ability to kind of slack off a bit in terms of quality. And I'm worried season 3 is going to go into a direction that could ruin our perception of The Mandalorian, which in my opinion was the only thing Star Wars has going for it right now until the Kenobi series drops, because we don't know what that's going to be like. But if, let's say, the Kenobi series is great, then I'll change my view. But right now, The Mandalorian is really what's pushing Star Wars in the right direction. And yet, I'm not as hopeful for season 3. As much as I can't wait for it, because I do really miss the show, I'm not very hopeful that it's going to. I'm worried it's going to ruin how great season 2 was, because I can't think of many plot points that could top what we got.
Well, that season finale for sure. But I am really looking forward to the reclamation of Mandalore, and all the things that we've already heard from that with Jason and Bespin Bulletin. Many of the leaks that have come out about what's going to be in that show, it has me super excited. But I suppose being somebody who's watched Rebels a few times and more familiar with some of the Mandalorian cultures, factions, I'm super excited to see that on screen and continued, and the future of the Darksaber, the future of Bo-Katan and Sabine Wren and all that. Right, I am super excited for it. And
Right, but does that have to be in The Mandalorian per se? Because the show so far has not relied on previous knowledge of Star Wars lore, and I think that's what made it so magical. You could go into the series not knowing anything about Star Wars.
yeah, and do you think Rogue One, or I mean, I keep saying Rogue One. That's not it.
Andor.
Andor. Thank you. Andor. Let's say Kenobi is middle of the road, maybe slightly better than Book of Boba Fett, but maybe not the same sort of numbers as Mandalorian. Where does that, like? I agree with you. Like, if Kenobi is a huge success, that'll go a long way towards an upward trajectory. If it's a complete failure, then rough times are ahead. What about that middle of the road kind of, maybe better than Kenobi, or I mean Boba Fett, but maybe not at the expectations some people have set?
I think it's still going to be the direction of slowly hacking away at the perception of Star Wars. Because if Kenobi flops, we know how that's going to go. I think Kenobi really needs to blow it out of the park, which I think Deborah Chow will do. But my worry is, I don't think Star Wars fans will think it's enough. From what I've seen from the leaks, it's not going to be enough for the majority of fans to be like, this was amazing, because we've waited 17 years for a show like this. These are two of the biggest legacy characters, plus they're including the kids of Skywalker, who again are at a younger point in the timeline, but still legacy characters.
Mm-hmm.
If this doesn't blow every expectation that fans of the prequels, fans of the original trilogy have been waiting for, I don't see a way back for the perception of Disney Star Wars as it currently stands in the Disney Plus space. There may be a chance for the films, but I personally think Kenobi will be great. I just don't think fans will see it as amazing from what we know from the leaks.
Well, there's another piece of that we need to be aware of as well, are the normies. Like the thing that has helped The Mandalorian is just the popular culture as a whole, who still don't really understand Grogu and Yoda, right? They still don't necessarily understand that they're not the same character, but they just love the Grogu merch, the Baby Yoda stuff, and they're into Mandalorian for the cuteness of that character and the relationship between Grogu and Din, that father son kind of deal. That's attracted a lot of fans of the series who aren't necessarily fans of Star Wars. Kenobi is going to be a huge thing for fans of Star Wars, but what about those? What about the just people who are not necessarily Star Wars fans, but have been fans of Mandalorian?
I don't necessarily see them as distinctive, because the casual fans of Mando aren't necessarily completely new to the franchise. Like, I know a lot of people in real life who they saw the original trilogy, they saw the prequels, maybe they saw episode 7 and 8, didn't necessarily go see 9, just from people I'm thinking off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And they saw The Mandalorian and then they loved it, but I think they'll obviously know who Kenobi is and Vader, but even if they don't, the vast majority of people watching will be at least vaguely familiar with the characters. I think the Inquisitors might confuse people who haven't played the games or watched Rebels, but again, that's something they could easily explain in like one sentence when Kenobi's talking with Nari about these Jedi hunters who are out to, and I'm sure there's going to be like a prologue of text of some description.
Yeah, yeah. There's got to be something, because again, there's a lot of people who don't follow Star Wars enough to be aware of where the show falls in the timeline. They see Kenobi and maybe they're original trilogy folks, and they're wondering, okay, well, this is obviously before, but I don't know when. So there is going to need to be a little bit of context added so that it brings along people all on the same page and understanding where the story takes place.
And Goldie in the comments has said it exactly right. Kenobi has nostalgia pressure where Mando didn't, because we didn't really know much about the time period after Return of the Jedi, apart from like the Aftermath trilogy and in Star Wars Legends. But there was no pressure to include things. My issue with how fans are going to view Kenobi is the simple thing that Disney always does wrong, which in my opinion is forgetting the obvious. Like, if they could have just sprinkled Dexter Jetster or Watto or Jar Jar
Yeah,
into this show,
yeah,
that would make all the difference.
yeah,
But they seem to have a problem incorporating elements like Easter eggs that are actually meaningful.
yeah, yeah. I follow you there. I wanted to touch on Daryl Derelict's comment here because I've seen this from other folks as well, saying that Grogu coming back so quickly took all the meaning away from Episode 16. I disagree fully, and Mark, I hope you have your bingo card ready because because Paper Moon gave us the outline for where the story was headed, and that was only a small part of Grogu's story. It's the big part of the story is the relationship to Din Djarin, and I don't think it takes anything away at all. It actually helps complete the story in that Grogu now makes the decision to go back to Din based on that relationship. That's what the story is about, the relationship between a father and son. So that's the context that I went into it with, and that's what I see out of it. I know people were looking for other things, and it touches base on what you were saying about people's expectation of Kenobi and wish fulfillment to see sort of things played out that they want to see versus letting things play out the way they were told. So when you end up with that variance, it can end up with some sort of that dissonance becomes a point of contention.
But I think Disney forgets how easy it is to really please fans. And I saw Star Force 1 give the perfect example. It's as simple as having Bosk in a Boba Fett show. It's as simple as putting Jar Jar Binks in the Kenobi series, or someone from the prequels that makes you go back and rewatch the prequels, then Kenobi, then A New Hope, and see it all connect
Yeah,
as this one big story. And I know those easy things that they're not going to put in this show, at least
yeah,
according to the leaks from our friend Jason. I think that's going to make or break it in very strong ways, as silly as it sounds.
yeah. Well, Forlom's there, so I mean that's a start. Maybe we'll get a couple of other little things sprinkled in. And as we said much earlier in the show, maybe we get some hints or nods to Jedi Fallen Order, right? Like maybe, and I think you've said this many times, the confidence you have in Deborah Chow to execute this series.
Oh yeah, I have complete faith in her. I think she's one of the best people in the industry, let alone at Lucasfilm right now. She's seriously, seriously talented. And I was reading that interview that she did with with Ming-Na Wen,
Hmm.
and you know she has such a respect for Star Wars that I've no doubt she's going to give us an incredible series, well planned out, an amazing story arc. But it's not down to her when it comes to these Easter eggs. This is I don't mean to sound like one of those channels or conspiratorial, but it is kind of Kathy. who makes those decisions of if these Easter eggs are put in. And I'm just basing this on behind the scenes of like the sequel trilogy, where Ryan or JJ had an idea and she's like, well, maybe not. And I think it goes back to Disney really just not liking the prequels, even though they're giving us,
Yeah.
in all fairness, prequel content.
Yeah.
They just seem to have an issue with George's love for CGI, CGI.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that as well. Maybe that's one of the reasons that the Disney Lucasfilm era has been good to me, because I don't have this same sort of nostalgia for the prequel era that they also seem to not have. So if you're listening, Disney, you hire me. I fit in your culture. Just just kidding. But no, hire me. No, but it's. I think you're right in saying that they're given plenty of prequel era Easter eggs, but that amount of nostalgia or love for the prequel era isn't there at the same level that many fans, especially of your generation, have. And maybe they're really overlooking that. So that's there's that. There's another question I want to ask you about the gallery episode. Don't let me forget about it. But Star Force One, do you think they're managing expectations well for Kenobi?
Lucasfilm are, because they've not given us much, but I think understandably fans will have the highest expectation, even more than for The Force Awakens. We're literally expecting to see certain things, and as much as you can say temper your expectations, this is a Kenobi series, you'd hope they'd go all out. And there will be times, I'm sounding negative, but there will be times from the leaks, at least, which have been accurate until now, that say we are going to get some incredible moments that do justice to fans of episodes 1 to 3.
Yeah.
I just know it's just not going to be enough.
It might be in Rogue One. People like as much as people want to say, and you've said, and I agree with, Kenobi is really a make or break series. Rogue One might meet more of those kind of
You mean Andor?
Andor. There you go. I did it again. Yeah. Andor might do a lot more for those wishes than Kenobi is going to, right?
I do agree with you. I think Andor will possibly be a very, very beloved series, even maybe more so than Kenobi.
Yeah.
I've heard some incredible things for the Andor show that I didn't expect when it was first announced.
Yeah, yeah. And this question here, I don't know, Modern Metalhead, and anybody's listening, you don't want spoilers. This is pretty safe spoiler, and it was in the trailer, but you don't necessarily know the bits. So if you don't want to know the bits until it comes out, then now's the time not to listen. But the reason you haven't heard much about Nari is he doesn't hang around very long.
I think your wording was excellent.
Thank you. I said that on purpose. Thank you for that.
Yeah, he doesn't have much time to hang.
No.
He might swing around.
Exactly. It depends how the direction the wind blows.
Yeah, short rope.
Yeah. Right. Many people get it. Very good. And Jason's somewhat right. And you've been really good at saying this. Maybe we should trust Lucasfilm for what they say and not, what we kind of project. It says the less the Lucasfilm give us, they are actively managing expectations. Maybe we should pay attention. They're not saying things. So I wanted to ask about the gallery episode for the Book of Boba Fett. You've watched it?
I've watched clips of it. I haven't seen the thing in its entirety.
You need to do that.
Because I started watching it on Star Wars Day.
Yeah.
And then we got the trailer, so I clicked away, did that, and I haven't been able to finish it. But I've seen all the cute stuff with Grogu and his ukulele.
Well, there's a lot of good content in there.
And I also saw Dave Filoni talk about Qui-Gon.
I was surprised by the amount of Filoni and Favreau content in that gallery episode. That they were they were heavily involved in the Book of Boba Fett, much more so than I had thought. There was a basic understanding that Rodriguez was the showrunner. We had different directors involved, but it was primarily Rodriguez's project. But that turns out not necessarily to be the case. In fact, towards the end of the gallery episode, Rodriguez says that as the finale was coming up, they're getting ready to, scheduling the filming for the finale. He actually went to Favreau and asked if he could direct it. Favreau was making that decision, which I did not know. I did not know.
Interesting. So you're saying that Favreau and Filoni had a bigger role than we thought?
A lot bigger role, yes. And they talk about a lot of things about what they were trying to go for, a lot of the themes they were shooting for, a lot of the cinematography they were going for, tie-ins to other shows. Like, there's a lot of Favreau referencing other things, and then you see where like Tamura and Rodriguez, and they talk about how Favreau showed him this, and Favreau was mentioning this other stuff. So after seeing the gallery episode, my interest in rewatching Book of Boba Fett is much higher, much higher. Having the context for which they were shooting the series for and what they were going for in the series sets my expectations a bit differently than I went into it with. Yeah, they did mention King Conan. They did. And they mentioned also, I want to think it was The Great Escape. I might be wrong on that. But there's lots of other things. So I thought it was really good. And I'm curious to get your take on that. So
I can definitely see why you'd have that perspective.
Yeah. I want to go back and watch it now.
See, I've never felt that urge. It's the one series. I've rewatched The Bad Batch. I've rewatched The Mandalorian endlessly. But Book of Boba Fett, I've literally not rewatched it since it came out and have no desire to do so.
Yeah, Lawrence of Arabia. That's it, Matt Risman. Thank you for that. Yeah, Lawrence of Arabia. There's a sequence in the train scene that is cinematically, like, frame for frame, Lawrence of Arabia. It's exactly the same. I didn't get that reference when I saw it, but when they show it in the gallery episode, you're like, holy crap, that's exactly what that is. And Tamura even mentions that that was one of his favorites when he was growing up, like these old movies. And he would watch them on TV as a kid. And then he grows up and he gets to be Lawrence, right? And he's like, he's pretty cool. I was like, oh, okay, there you have it. Neat stuff, really neat stuff. Yeah, Jarhead was for the destruction of Mandalore. We all made the connection. I think most of us made the connection to the Arnold Schwarzenegger series movies. Somebody in chat's got to get it before I do.
Jingle bells. I mean, jingle all the way.
Jingle. Terminator. Thanks, Jason.
Oh,
Terminator.
I was close.
You were close. Right, we made the connection to Terminator, and I saw a lot of side-by-side scenes of Terminator and that Night of Tears or whatever from Mandalore. But they point out Jarhead was what they took the inspiration from, and they tried to model it directly after it. So yeah, Terminator 2. Yeah, but I really enjoyed that gallery episode. I'll watch that gallery episode again, and I'll rewatch Book of Boba Fett with that in mind, and I think it's going to help my rewatch of that series. So,
and as Star Force 1 points out, they also used Plo Koon again as a codename for Luke. And I think it was Jason who mentioned this on one of his streams. There's almost like a certainty that we will see Plo Koon flashbacks in the Ahsoka series. They've got him all set up and ready.
I would love that because in that the Rosario said that she had read in the script and it's going to be Plo Koon. She said I had questions that I didn't understand, but I'd figure it out when I got there. And so she went through makeup. She went through all the the prep. She shows up to do the scene, and Mark Hamill's sitting there, and like she had no idea until like the day of shooting, and you see the scene where or the footage when she sees him for the first time, and she's freaking out. And it's a really great scene from that gallery. Really, really good. So yeah, they did do that. That was, and I saw somebody else. Well, we'll see you, Fitz. Thanks for being here. There was another comment here that I wanted to highlight, but I don't see it. Anyway, there you have it. Oh, Man in the Moon. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. All right. Well, that covers all the topics I wanted to cover today, and I want to thank you once again, Meg. And we got to go to the Mike Porter dad joke. He has a Star Wars Revenge of the Sixth joke for us today. Right here it is. What does the Jedi say about the dark side? That he is Sith and tired about it. Oh, Sith and tired. Oh,
I get it. Sick and tired.
Oh, that was great. Thank you for that, Mike Porter. Always support everybody. We appreciate it. So, Meg, thank you. And
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, always. And I appreciate the time you've taken this Friday evening to spend with me. All of you, I hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope that you have a fantastic weekend. Thank you all for being here. And I'm going to hit the outro now. All right. We'll see you all. And Meg, go ahead.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you so much.
News and show reviews, it's like Christmas every day. Oh, Star Wars Santa, the Star Wars Santa show. Oh, what fun it is to chat on the Star Wars Santa show. Oh, Star Wars Santa, the Star Wars Santa show. Oh, what fun it is to chat on the Star Wars Santa show. Ho, 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 ho. Hot dang, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat tonight.